I came into this thing like with nothing. And it's all brand new for me. Yeah. So like everything has been a win. Yeah. So it's like even when I had this goal but didn't hit that goal, I don't necessarily look at it as a failure. It's like, okay, what do we do now? Right. So for example, I joined the mastermind one time. It was like $25,000. I was going to California every quarter to like work with these guys. But I didn't really maximize the program. The biggest lesson I got from it though was I wasn't tracking my data. So every time I went out there, they used to ask me like, hey, what's the data? Yeah. But I just had like data all over the place. Yeah. And I'm like, what kind of this? I'm thinking this and blah. And it was like, well, we really can't serve you. If we could, I mean, if I gave you some advice, we'd be pissing in the wind because we don't got it based on no data. Right. So I spent $25,000 pretty much just to learn that I need to start tracking my data. Right? One lesson. Yeah. But like, is that a failure? No, because now I've been able to take that 10 years later and able to empower other people as well.
Ghetto. Good idea. Now we buying merch. That's ghetto. Payment miss. Ooh, the ghetto. Say she quit. Ooh, the ghetto. Late on your rent. Rent is ghetto. New event. Ooh, the ghetto. Invoice in. That ain't ghetto. Money spin. Oh, that's ghetto. Hold on. It's kind of ghetto being a CEO.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ghetto CEO podcast. I am super excited that you are here. We have an amazing guest. But listen, I need you to like, comment, and subscribe. Go leave us a review, all the things, okay? Because on this podcast, we talk about all the things about being a CEO. Because, y'all, it's not glitz and glamour. It is giving very much ghetto, okay? But I think a lot of people love the podcast because we are exposing the truth right behind entrepreneurship. We wouldn't trade it for the world, but you also can see 7-figure CEOs, 8-figure CEOs that literally are living the same life that you are living because it is giving very much ghetto. So on this episode of this podcast, we got literally, y'all. I just can't wait till y'all meet our guests. We got the Marquel in the building. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Listen, we're about to have some fun.
Let's get to it. I love it. I'm excited.
Yes. Well, tell the people who you are and what you do.
So I'm Marquel Russell. Many people call me the king of client attraction. We have a company called Client Attraction University. We mainly work with like coaches, consultants, people who have training companies, and they want to get to that $1 million to $10 million mark, and we help them scale and get there without burning themselves out or burning the whole business down.
Because I can burn it down.
100%. 100%.
I love it. So you said that you, and I love that. We're going to tap into that. So what made you even want to help people not burn the business down? Because it's ghetto over here.
Yeah, for sure. Because I was at the point a few times where it's like, I want to burn the business down, right? Because it's like, it ain't really at a certain level of growth. Like in some phases, it's like, some of it can be cookie cutter, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like, as you start to grow, it starts to become some nuance. And then it's kind of like, it's not linear. So some people may say like, all right, well, I spent $5,000 this month on ads and I made $20,000. Yeah. So they like, well, if I spend $10,000 next month, I can make $40,000. And you already know it ain't always linear like that. Right. So that's when things start breaking down. And I experienced that. And then once we was able to figure out, I was like, man, it ain't really nobody teaching this and what it really takes to go to business. Because like I said, I was on the event that we did earlier today, and I was like, more marketing ain't gonna fix a broke business. Ooh. Right? So if your business broke, spending more on ads ain't gonna fix it. Yeah. So you gotta fix the other stuff.
You know, that's so good, because I tell the Ghetto CEO crew all the time that $1 million broke my business. Literally, I be like, y'all, I should have set it on fire. Like, that's exactly how I felt. And how did you go through that? Because apparently you had to go through it to be able to teach it, right?
For sure.
So what did your lessons look like coming out of it?
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of came into this whole industry kind of crazy. So I'm from Atlanta. I dropped out of high school in 10th grade. So I got a 9th grade education. I was like selling drugs before I got introduced to all this. Okay. So I was in the club one night and got introduced to network marketing. You familiar with network marketing? Like recruit somebody and then so I got introduced to that first, and that introduced me to the internet marketing. And I was like, man, this is crazy. I was like, these folks making money on the internet? And I was like, this is crazy. So I jumped in head first, started like figuring it out. Yeah. And they was like, well, if you buy a course, we can show you how to do this. And I was like, this seemed crazy, but I was like buying it. Yeah. And then I started seeing that people was like making it complicated. And I'm really good at like pattern recognition, right? So I started looking at like, okay, what were they doing? Then what aren't they saying? Okay. So then I started asking certain questions and doing things a little bit different. And I realized that the way people was teaching stuff, it was like they was trying to purposely keep you confused. Yeah. Because if they keep you confused, now you just keep buying stuff that just keep you more confused. So I was like, okay, where's the gap in that, right? So it's like in the streets, it's like, what's the gap? I see everybody doing it this way. They doing it this way. So what's the gap of how we do that? So I kind of brought that same thinking into this world.
I love it.
And I was like, how do we simplify? Because everybody was like complicating it. So I was like, how do we simplify it? Specifically for our people, because when I started teaching the market and stuff, when no black people really teaching it, not the direct response stuff. Yeah. So I was like, man, this is dope. So I started paying to get in these different rooms.
Okay.
After I started to figure it out, like coaching was a thing. It took me like 3 or 4 years, before I realized that I could actually hire a coach instead of buying courses, right? And then when I started hiring coaches, things started to accelerate, and I just had to go in and just start breaking down what they was doing and like simplify, because I had like bumped my head, bought this course, didn't do nothing, spent money, this didn't work out, hired this person, this didn't work out. So I was like, okay, where's the gap? How do I simplify things so I can take somebody from here to there to like ramp it up? And then once the Holy Grail was 10,000 a month at first. So I was like, okay, when I hit that, how do we do that? And I broke it down and started teaching that. And then we started hitting different levels. And I just started breaking down like reverse engineering. Because of course, like doing something and then being able to teach it is two completely different things. And I figured out that I had a gift of like teaching, taking stuff, really simplifying it. Other people started doing it, started getting results, and I was like, okay, it might be something to this.
Oh, this is fire! I love it, and I love the fact that you even say you took what you learned previously in your past life and you brought it into this life, right? So, what was this timeline, right? Like, you was like, I was selling drugs on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I was network marketing. Like, what did this look like? For sure.
So I was in the club one night, and then at a mixtape release party, and a dude walked up to me. He was like, hey, he thought I was somebody else. He knew my face, but I knew his face, but he thought I was somebody else. Okay. So he was like, hey, who do you know got a cell phone? And I was like, well, everybody I know got a cell phone. And he was like, well, what if every time they paid their bill, you got paid? And I was like, well, that'd be dope. Right. So he invited me to
okay, with the opening hook.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we in there smoking, we drinking. I'm like, all right, cool. That makes perfect sense to me. Right. So he was like, well, Wednesday, one of my mentors gonna be in town. They a millionaire. And at this time, I had never met like no legit millionaires. I knew people who was making money, but like legit, I'm like, okay, this would be cool. So I went Wednesday, took my brother with me because we didn't really know what we was getting into. And they was like, hey, we got this video phone technology. This going to be the wave. So this probably 2023 now. So this probably 2013-ish. Okay. This before like video phone stuff really like took off. I mean, we had Skype and stuff like that, but it hadn't really like took off. So I was like, man, this would be dope. And it was like, what if, you was in the room when Google first took off, Facebook first took off. So I'm like, okay, bet. And the dude who signed me up was younger. Okay. So I was like, okay, if he doing it, I can figure it out. And it was like, all you got to do is sign up 2 people. And then they'll sign up 2 people. And then they'll sign up 2 people. Yeah. And I was like, this is my city. I can easily get 2 people. Yeah. So came out of there, started sharing it with my people. They was like, man, this is a scam, bro. This is a pyramid scheme. And like, now mind you, my people like from the streets. Yeah. But they was like, this is a scam. This is a pyramid scheme. So I'm like, we take risks every day to get money. Right. And I'm trying to bring something to y'all tripping. So I was like, but it gotta be something to this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I went through it, went to some meetings that they was doing, and I was just kind of seeing what was going on. And it probably honestly took me about a year or so after I got through to start recruiting a couple people. Okay. And then somebody who I signed up introduced me to online, and I bought an online ebook, and then I read the ebook after I was like super skeptical because I didn't really know what it was. Yeah. And then bought some more courses, and it probably took another few years before things really started clicking. Yeah. And it actually took me I got pulled over one day and I had a warrant, and I got locked up. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've been going back and forth to jail since I was like 15, 16 years old. So I was like, this the last straw for me. I'm good. So when I got out, I finished up what I had going on in the streets. And I was like, I'm going to go all in on this internet home business stuff. Yeah. And I probably went 2 years, blew through all the money that I had stacked up the whole 9 and went broke to like figure this whole thing. I have this realization that God like had to break me all the way down and then like rebuild me all the way back up. So I went through that whole like dry phase, and then things started to click probably about over a 2-3 year period after I like detached totally from the streets.
Yes, I love that. And I think that it's important for us to know that it didn't happen immediately.
Right, for sure, 100%.
Because, this internet age, people wanted microwave success. 100%. You know what I'm saying? They will be like, I started on Tuesday, I'm rich by Wednesday. 100%. And I love that your story shows that it doesn't happen quickly.
No, it don't happen quickly. Yes. It's kind of like a tree, right? It's kind of like if you're planting a tree, it like takes some time. And the biggest thing is like you got to grow, because it's like you don't really come in, you don't really have the same mindset that. So if you ain't already making $100,000 a month, well, most cases you know what to do.
Yeah.
But you just ain't the type of, you just ain't the person that'll make $100,000 a month. You ain't did the personal work. So you got to like grow into that. Because if you get to it too fast, like if you win the lotto, you pretty just gonna blow it because you ain't even the person who makes $100,000 a month. And it took me a while to like understand that. I was like, no, I just need to know how to get to the bag. And they was like, well, no, once you get to the bag, you got to know how to maintain the bag, how to multiply the bag, all that good stuff that comes with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's a process. You know what I'm saying? It's more than just making the money, because making the money honestly could be the easiest thing. You know what I'm saying? You can make money several different ways. 100%. You was already making money. 100%. But it's like, how do you maintain the money, keep the money, like you said, multiply the money?
Exactly.
Like it's a process.
Exactly.
And I love that. So when you think, this is the Ghetto CEO podcast, so we talk about all things Giving Ghetto. And I know that my story behind being a CEO has always been like, it's always something. But when you think about your story and the most ghettoest thing in the world that you had to overcome, you had to grow through, whatever, what is that thing that you think about?
I'd probably say, so we had like grew the business like crazy because like I mean the beautiful thing is, like you said, it take a minute. However, once that thing take off, it momentum. Like take off, right? It's the momentum, it's that snowball. So what happened was I ended up getting to a point, the person who I had doing my taxes early on, I had outgrew him, but he didn't tell me. One of my other mentors is like, hey man, you done outgrew Mr. Thompson. Because it started
his name was Mr. Thompson.
His name was Mr. Thompson, right? So he was like, he just started taking longer and longer to do my taxes. So he was like,
that man was confused.
Yeah, he was like, you done outgrew Mr. Thompson. So I hired my now accountant, and she was like, this is a mess. Right? I was running my whole life out of I had a business account, but I was running my whole life out the business account. So she was like, first of all, we got to get you on a salary. Right. Because I wasn't on the salary. Right. Obviously, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to eat out the thing. Yeah. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. And she was like, it took her probably like a month or two just to like get my stuff like at a point where she could help. Right. And she was like, because of your stuff, I'm increasing my prices. Well. She was like, I got to increase my prices. Your stuff is such a mess. Because me, I'm like, first of all, I ain't know that. Being an entrepreneur and being a CEO, two completely different things.
100%.
Number one. Number two, she like, well, you need to have this account, you need to have this account, you need to set it like this, we need to put you on this type of salary. Like I ain't thinking about none of that.
Nah, we was making money.
We just making money. It's two completely different things.
Yes. So what did your pivot from entrepreneurship to CEO look like?
So I think it really, for me, it was more of an identity. I had to work on it was an identity shift, right? So it's like, as a CEO, you got to create a whole new identity because as an entrepreneur, you do everything. You do the ads, you do the sales calls. At some point, you may even be doing customer support early on, right? You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. And then as a CEO, now you move from the doing to actually more the delegating and the designing. You know what I'm saying? Right. So a lot of times when I'm working with clients who like in the CEO phase, I'm like, well, my personal output used to be the output of the company. Right. But as a CEO, the output of the company is actually the output of the team. Correct. But it's like, how do you pull yourself out and you not doing it? Because this been your identity. So when you go from doing sales calls every day to not doing sales calls, you want to jump in there and do some sales calls. But it's like you can't. Ooh, I need to get in there. I could have closed that one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You like, no, you're going to disempower the team if you jump in there. You got to pull back. So I think for me, it was like shifting my identity from like the doer, the entrepreneur, to like zooming out and being like over the business versus like always in it.
You know, I think that's so good. Like, how did you learn that lesson? What did you go through it and then you was like,
100%.
Okay,
100%, 100%. All of it, I don't think I can think of one instant where it was like somebody saved me from going through it. Okay. Like I went through all of it and then I like learned the lesson after, like probably like 100% of the time.
Listen, because I always talk about my thing was like always team, right? I'm young. I never had to manage people. I never worked in corporate. I don't know how that stuff works. You know what I'm saying? And when I realized that we couldn't grow until these people realized their own potential, and I'm good at what I do, and this was I remember this. This is my proudest moment at the time, right? I used to be like, I used to go in the company like, I could do your job, my job, and all these jobs. I don't need you, right? And then now the team is disempowered. They don't feel like they can do, but I could. I was like, in my my mind, my selfish self, right? My because I'm an only child, so I'm like, I could do all of this. Like, I don't like. Why are you taking this long, right? But you have to kind of go through that to be like, okay, that's not how it's supposed to go.
100%. And most people. Ain't nobody, you only learn that by going through it, right? Because it's very 100%. Few people who's teaching that. Because most people haven't. What I realized, like, as we grew as a company, I realized that it wasn't as many people like having the success that they said they was having. Yeah. Because nobody could teach it. Nobody teaching like, hey, here's how you transition to the CEO. Here's like entity structure. Here's what needs to be in place. Yeah. Here's what about team. Here's salary. Here's tax structure. Ain't nobody really teaching that. Everybody was just teaching marketing and sales. Right. But after you figure that out, like, how do you do the other stuff to actually grow the company?
Yes, and how really grow the company. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be the reason that the company is stagnant too.
100%.
Because you not the person that you need to be. You're not the CEO. You're not evolving into the CEO that you need to be. And it is ghetto, right? A lot of the stuff that I dealt with was self-inflicted, right? Because not because I wanted to, because there was nobody teaching it, right? Sure. You get into these programs and you get into coaching, and it's like it's a one-sided conversation. You know what I'm saying? We talking about the sales, we talking about the marketing, but that's only amplifying the problem. Because I keep getting customers, 100%, but I don't know how to fulfill.
The business broke.
The business is broke.
The business is broke. It's like, how do I fulfill? How do I do this? How do I do that? It's like, now you're like, okay, now you're on all these coaching calls if you're doing a coaching business. So now you got inventory issues, but it's like, now you're just like, no, just spend more on ads. And it's like, no, that ain't going to fix the other stuff. Right. And now everybody's talking about how bad your business is. Yep. And of course, you already know it takes time. You take you a minute to build up your reputation, but like your reputation, you can kill it in a second.
Immediately. So what was one of the biggest like failures that you feel like you've had in business?
So biggest failure, I would say, because I don't want to. So all right, biggest failure. I don't know. I would probably say. It's a good question. Because for me, like I came into, and the reason it's hard for me to come up with an answer is because like I came into this thing like with nothing, and it's all brand new for me. So like everything has been a win. Yeah. So it's like even when I had this goal but didn't hit that goal, I don't necessarily look at it as a failure. It's like, okay, what do we do now? Right. So for example, I joined the mastermind one time. It was like $25,000. I was going to California every quarter to like work with these guys, but I didn't really maximize the program. The biggest lesson I got from it though was I wasn't tracking my data. So every time I went out there, they used to ask me like, hey, what's the data? Yeah. But I just had like data all over the place. Yeah. And I'm like, what kind of this? I'm thinking this and blah. And it was like, well, we really can't serve you. If we could, if I gave you some advice, we'd be pissing in the wind because we don't got it based on data. Right. So I spent $25,000 pretty much just to learn that I need to start tracking my data. Right? One lesson. Yeah. But like, is that a failure? No, because now I've been able to take that 10 years later and able to empower other people as well. So I think the whole thing like been a win across the board because like where I come from, like I could be like in the feds or like anything right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, people got me speaking on stages and all kind of stuff. Like,
you like, this is wild.
That's crazy to me. Like they listening to me, like this crazy to me.
Like what?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? For sure. So that's crazy to me.
Yes, and you know what? It's so funny. I love that because one thing is we don't have in our in the Millionaire Mob, right? We don't have a lot of men that come speak and all of those things, right? So I know this episode is going to attract more men. They're going to be looking at you like, dang, like he looked like me.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? He got the same story as me. So how did you deal with even the personal thought process or the personal development? Because you probably didn't feel like you did fit in at first, right? Like people was looking at you. You got tattoos, you got the Cartiers on, like, you know what I'm saying? Sure. Like, it's like, how did you figure out that, nah, I belong here?
So I think the biggest thing for me was like, because like to your point, when I first came in, and I started like creating online videos and stuff like that, teaching what I was learning, I did have that, because like I said, wasn't nobody black teaching it, right? I was like, dang, who gonna listen to me? Like, I got goals, and I ain't come in this and get goals and get tats. Like, I came in this like this. You know what I'm saying? This is how I showed up. So it's like I got in, I was like, man, I got tattoos, I got goals, I dropped out of high school in 10th grade. And these cats who was winning in this space, they was getting money already. Like they was like, hey man, their story was you know, I made a lot of money in real estate.
Yeah.
2008 hit, I lost it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even remember 2008. I was around, but I don't remember that. Like,
right.
where I'm from, that's called a drought, not a recession. But it's like, we winning even then. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the best time. Yeah. That's why people in this world, they be like, oh, it's a recession. I'm like, what's a recession? It's
right.
I'm like, oh, you mean a drought? Like, that's when you know the real entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They're the ones who really getting it. So it's like, I came in, but I was having those challenges because I was like, who gonna listen to me?
Yeah.
But as I started putting stuff out and I was getting like 1 view or 2 views, people was like digging it. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's a space and maybe there's some room for this. And you know, those thoughts still come up at times. Okay. Because it's like, I still go in the rooms and it's just me. Yeah. Or it's just me and my business partner. But then you get that one limiting belief come up. But then on the other side, it's like, this is an opportunity. Because I look at myself as that guy who's going, I never look at myself as the guy who like done figured it out. Yeah. I'm like the guy who goes out, I'm going into these rooms, I'm going to these environments, figuring something out, and then I'm bringing it back. Like, hey, here, I took this, I tested this, here's what I discovered, here's what we do, because ain't nobody really bringing it like that. So I had that challenge at first, but as I began to work on myself more, doing the personal work, doing the personal development stuff, just being consistent, and start seeing that the work that I was doing was actually impacting people.
You know, I loved it because I was talking to one of the other guests, and I remember telling her, like, all in 2022, like, I just felt this sense of imposter syndrome. Like, do you belong here? Like, what you supposed to do? And I think a lot of times I also say that when you feel like an imposter, it really means that you are dreaming bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, the goal is so big that it's like, whoa, like 100%. This is crazy. You know what 100%. I'm saying? So I respect it 100%. Sure.
And I say this. So I think the biggest thing for me, I didn't realize I could just be myself. So like, cause like I came out of the network marketing world. And in network marketing, you got to wear suits. You got to wear this. You got to dress up a certain type of way. So when I came into this world, it was still like suits and like a button down and all this. And I would wear button downs, but it was like polos, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, but I didn't realize, like, dang, I could rock a polo, or I could be in a t-shirt, or I could be in a hoodie. Yeah. I could just show up as me 100%. I could share like my stories from in the streets and doing this, and it resonated with folks. So now when I'm on stage, most of my clients are like doctors. They got MBAs. They got all this. Like, not most people would think that, dang, all your clients probably like from where you from. I'm like, no, it's the total opposite. You know what I'm saying? And they resonate with the stories I be sharing, which like tripped me out. But I was like, I can just be me 100%. And that's when I realized that, okay, I'm good.
If you're over here on YouTube watching the podcast, listen, I need you to do me a favor. If you love me, do me this favor. Pull out your phone right now and go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or anywhere that you actually listen to podcasts at, right? I need you to subscribe and leave a review. Listen, the way podcasts work is the streets don't know we doing good if it's not on the audio version. The YouTube version don't really count, okay? So go over there, leave us a review, and let us know how much you love the podcast. Now back to the episode. You know, it is so funny to me because I hear like older people that get inside of our community and they say that all the time. Because I'm like, you a doctor? Like, I'm 29 years old. I barely have lived life yet. And you like, I'm tapped in. I'm ready to pay her 5 figures. Like, I'm ready to learn from her. And I think it's so funny because people do. One of my friends was like, their clients come to me. They was like, yeah, when I need a little ratchet, I could get this too. 100%. And a little youth. You know what I'm saying? But I think people appreciate you being yourself.
100%. It frees people. It let people realize, because there's so many people who don't feel comfortable being themselves. 100%. So it's like when you show up like how you show up, they like, dang, I could just be me. Yeah. So now they let their hair down. Now they start talking how they talking. They like, oh, I can. Now it's fun versus like being like stressful, because now you got to live 2 lives. You're like, okay, this is my business. I call it like using your phone voice. Yeah. So you show up online in your business with your phone voice. Yeah. And then it's exhausting. And now you got to change back into your regular person. Yep. And now when you bump into a client or somebody who follow you online or whatever out and about, now you like, you don't know who to be. When you just be yourself 100%, like you ain't tripping. Yep.
You got to tap into your authentic self.
100%.
Like just being you across the board is always, because nobody else can duplicate you.
Yep. That's your superpower.
That is your superpower.
That's your superpower. You just being you.
I love that. So going to your personal side, right? Okay. Like, do you have any kids? Yeah. You married?
For sure. I'm married. I got. Okay. I be losing count sometimes. I'm married. I got 5 kids.
Oh, really? Yep. Where are those kids coming from?
You know where they coming from.
You know what's going on. So talk to us a little bit about being a father, but also running these businesses. How old are your kids?
So I got a 3-year-old.
Wow. You can start over.
Yeah, for sure. I got a 3-year-old. I got an 8-year-old. I got a 9-year-old. I got a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, you really started over.
Yeah, for sure. I got it all across the board.
Yeah. So how has it been now? Because I can totally see the difference probably with your 21-year-old.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Then your 3-year-old. They probably like, is a girl or boy?
The 21-year-old is a girl.
Okay.
Everybody else boys.
Okay. So the 3-year-old got the good life.
100%. They get a whole other version of me. It's like kids, like, they get, as you get more evolved, your younger kids get the more evolved version of you. So my 3-year-old get the best version of me. My 8 or 9-year-old compared to my 19-year-old, because I was still like in the streets when he was born. So it's like, 100%.
I love it. So how has that been, like growing through that and becoming a father and also growing as an entrepreneur? For sure.
I tell people, like, it's a personal development course in real time. So it's like, me, I'm a driver. I'm a like get it done. Like I get it done, no excuses. I don't care how I feel. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of my approach. Well, that was my approach at one point. Yeah. But through doing, I worked with a therapist the past like 2 years, and one of the things that you can't. Everybody ain't that, and like I come from a different environment. Yeah. So my kids don't come from that environment. So at one point, it used to frustrate me that they weren't as driven. Yeah. Right. Especially like my older ones. But then I realized, like, well, they don't really got to be as driven. Yeah. Because they not coming from a place of, like, survival mode like I came from. So I had to have more empathy and, like, slow down and, like, hear them out and connect to how they feel. And
you like, this was new.
It was new to me. But I had to do all that. And I'd be like, okay, I understand how you feel like that. I can hear that.
It was like, ooh, this is
100%. Yeah. And still to this day, I still be like, all right, let me slow down. Let me, you know what I'm saying? So I got to communicate a little bit differently. I love it. Because I come from a different environment. I come from a different world. I had to like grind it out. I had to figure it out. So transitioning to that, and it's balancing, putting that there, but still being aware of like their feelings and all this different type of stuff.
First of all, I love that because I was talking to my boyfriend's sister, and she talked about like how she started to go through therapy, but she was also telling her kids like, don't do this, don't do that. Yep. But they was like, girl, I can't listen to you. I'm literally sitting here watching you do it, right? And so she had to heal herself for them to be able to be healed. 100%. And I just thought that was the most beautiful thing ever. And a lot of times I feel like parents miss the mark on it. 100%. Like we be like, and I ain't no parent yet, but I'm just seeing like, do this. But if you would just embody it yourself, then they will be able to see it.
100%. So I talked to my 9-year-old about this the other day, matter of fact, because he got an 8 and a 3-year-old under him. Okay. So he be telling my 8-year-old, do this.
He the boss.
Yeah, I'd be like, do you do that? And he was like, I'm like, even though he don't say it, he watches what you do, so they do what you do. They say what you say. So I'm like, you don't lead by talking, you lead by action. Yeah. So it's like, if you want them to do something different, you do something different. Let them see you do something different. And then once you're doing it, then you can communicate to them what to do and why to do it. And you can show your results. Like we do in teaching, right? Yes. You've done it. You've gone through it. Now you can say, hey, I did this. So, but like if you're doing the same thing, like you can't tell him.
You can't tell him nothing. First of all, the 9-year-old said that he run the house. Okay,
that's legit what he think. That's legit what he think, but it don't work like that. So it's a balance in that.
Yes, yep. I love that. First of all, I did not know you had 5 kids, but this is amazing. Yep. So you really have been able to balance all of this for a while.
Yeah, it's a balance in that. So like one point, I had to reframe stuff. So like in some phases. I'll speak for me. I won't say entrepreneurs in general, but I say me and some entrepreneurs is like we'll say, hey, we grinding 24/7 for our kids. Yeah. And then that a lot of times rationalize us neglecting time with the kids because we grinding. Right. But in reality, kids don't want. We say, okay, we building this business for our kids, and we're gonna get the kids our business. First of all, the kids don't want your business. Number one, they see how stressed out you is building the business. They don't want that. They want to go get a job, right? They want to work at the library or something. You know what I'm saying? Like they like you stressed out.
Right.
They like,
I want that.
They don't want that.
Especially these Gen Zs. They
don't want that. You know what I'm saying? They want to be a YouTuber. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's like 100%. So it's like you balancing it out and really like like, okay, I'm doing the business here. I'm carving out this time here and being super intentional. It don't got to be perfect, but just like intentional. Like, I'm carving this out. Here's what I'm doing with here. Here's what I'm doing with here. And then teaching as much as you can as you go. Because I think one of the biggest things, especially in the Black community, is like we want to give our kids everything that we didn't have without the lessons, though. Yes. So I think if we build from a legacy standpoint and building out trust and things of that nature, if we set it up where our kids automatically get millions when they get to this age, I think we disempowering them. I think that's doing them a disservice because they don't got the lessons. They aren't creating value. They aren't doing this thing. You give your 25, 30-year-old $2-3 million, they just they outside. You know what I'm saying? So now they blow that. Now what? So I think we got a generational wealth is like the lessons and the knowledge and the access and the network, even more so than the money.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I always say is that you can hear and see a healed man from far away, right? Sure. And so you even talked about like how you went through therapy. What triggered you to be like, let me go and see what the hell wrong with me?
For sure, 100%. Because like I'm obsessed with getting better. Yeah, I'm like obsessed with getting better.
I loved it.
So when I got introduced to, I think one of the things that helped me in business most is like getting introduced to personal development. So I got introduced to that in network marketing. So when I was in network marketing, a lot of people talk about network marketing as a pyramid scheme, whatever. Yeah. But like for me, it introduced me to network personal development. So cats like Jim Rohn and Les Brown and all these, Miles Monroe, and the list goes on. And I was just, when they start talking that talk, I used to be like, man, it's crazy. And I was still like in the trap. I was like still in the street. Yeah. So I'm riding around. I go from Jeezy to like Jim Rohn, John Maxwell, Miles Monroe from Meek Mill. I love so I'm doing it all. So I'm at the spot. We smoking. My homies come through. And you read Success Magazine before? So Success Magazine used to give you a CD with the magazine. They probably still do. So my partners used to come through, and we in there smoking, drinking, kicking it. Yeah. And I got like the Success Magazine playing, John Maxwell, and they like, bro, like what's this?
You fucking up the vibe.
Yeah, but I'm like, nah, bro, this what we own. Like if y'all gonna be over here, this what we own. Like we got the blunts going around, but this like what we own.
Yeah, I love it.
Because they was talking a different talk, and I was like, man, this crazy. So I did that, and then over the past few years, I heard cats that I respect talking about like therapy. But in the Black community, it's like therapy got like a bad rap to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm like, I was like, I don't know. So I tested it out. One of my partners I respect, Tyron, he told me about his people in East Point in Atlanta. So I went over there, I signed up for a couple sessions with the lady. We did like 4 or 5 sessions. And at the end of it, she was like, because my thing is like, if you see my blind spots, I want you to point out my blind spots. Because we always got blind spots. Right. No matter how much money we get, no matter how great we feel like we're doing, we always got blind spots. So we did 4 or 5 sessions. At the end, she was like, I don't really want to take no more of your money. Like, it seems like you doing well and you got things going. Oh, wow. So I'm like, all right. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I still know I got blind spots. So I'm still trying to figure out. So I end up meeting my last therapist, Dr. Kurt. I actually end up meeting him with this program I was working with called Next Level Boys Academy, where we work with the youth and so forth. And he was, talking some talk one day, and he was talking about over-parenting and stuff like that. And I was like, interesting. That's an interesting concept. I never heard nobody talk about that. Yeah. So me and him started chopping it up. And he was like, yeah, I'm a therapist. And he was already familiar with me as well. He like, bro, I follow you online and everything. I was like, that's crazy. So I signed up with some sessions with him. Okay. And as I was learning and growing, I was like, man, this is crazy. So 2 years passed, and we was meeting like every week. Because I'm like, I know it's always another level. And most people don't realize that they fail in entrepreneurship because they probably shouldn't be in entrepreneurship anyway. They became an entrepreneur based on a traumatic response. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They just want to do this to make money, to survive. It's not really like a calling or like a purpose behind it or like really serving people. Yeah. But if we don't realize a lot of stuff that we do is based on trauma, like we can't charge what we deserve to charge because based on trauma and how you see money. Yep. You can't build a team because of this. You can't trust nobody because of this. You can't shoot videos online because you don't like how you look on video because something your grandma said about you when you was 3. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But we ain't dealt with none of that. So we feel like, well, I could just go buy another course. Or I can just go hire another coach. It's like, your coach ain't your therapist though. Yes. Like you need a coach. I tell all entrepreneurs, you need a coach and a therapist.
Period.
Like, if you think your coach is your therapist, you're going to lose.
Yes,
because now you
every
jump
time.
from course to course. You go to event after event.
Yep.
You buy the clothes. You got the high-end. You got the car.
Yes.
But you still, like, something missing. It's like, no, you ain't did the personal work. Like, once
you're not healed.
You ain't healed. Like, once you get the money out the way, you stuck with all the problems money can't solve. But you got to go do the work, though.
You know, it's so funny that you say that. So, I've been in therapy since December 2021. Every Wednesday, 9 a.m., I am there smiling. Mm-hmm. Do you hear me?
100%.
Like, I be excited to talk to my girl, Stephanie. Mm-hmm. But listen, I saw this meme the other day, and it said, once you start getting healed, you lose ambition. Dude, what do you think about that?
Once you get healed, you lose ambition.
Because they said, and I'm going to tell you the rest of it, it talked about how ambition is normally a trauma response. Got it. Like, you be going hard and you just put yourself into the business because you running from something else.
For
so,
sure.
What's your thoughts?
I don't think that you lose ambition. I think the reasons for your ambition change, though. Right? So it's like you said, like, one of the things I learned from my Dr. Kurt, he was like, you can have all the money. I even have him come speak with our clients. It's like, look, they got to hear this too from you, right? So
come pull up.
I weave it in, but it's like, no, they got to hear it from you.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, you can have all the money, but still be in survival mode. You can still be in scarcity. Like, you done took care of all the money. Yeah. You got more money than you ever dreamed of. Yeah. You got the lifestyle. You got the cars. You taking the vacations, but you still in survival mode, right? So it's like, when you get out of survival mode, now the ambition changes up because you're not like chasing and stuff like that. So I think that can happen because it's like, I've seen cats who, this one brother, for example, his biggest goal was to get a Tesla. Okay. So he got the Tesla. That what he was driving for. Yeah. He got the Tesla, and then he went in depression for like 4 months. He went through like 4 weeks or something. Like, he went through a depression because that was the only goal he was driving towards that. Yeah. So he was like, he thought that was gonna fulfill him, but it don't fulfill you. Like, money is a moving target. Yeah, you get $100,000 a month. Yeah, you don't even realize you hit the 100,000 until you sit down and look at your numbers. Yeah. Most often you don't even look at your numbers, but when you do look, you're like, oh dang, I did 100,000 last month, and now you're like, all right, let me go for 200. Yeah, and then you hit 200. Now you're like, let's hit 300. Like, you don't celebrate it. You don't go on no trip. Child, you don't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? So now it's just literally just a moving target. Yes. No, that is hilarious. Because one thing, I was talking to one of my friends watching, and she talked about that concept. Like, money is a moving target. So even in your household, like, you need to have a monetary goal together, right? Like, when we get to this number, this is not to say we're going to stop, but we have acknowledged that we have reached where we're trying to go. For sure. So have you and your wife talked about that number? Like, what is that number for y'all? So that's a great question. So we don't necessarily have a number. I got certain things that we just have installed, right? So for example, every quarter, we do something. We like go somewhere or something like that. So we do like a quarterly getaway, whatever that may look like. Yeah. For Christmas, every Christmas, like the past 3 years, we just created like a new tradition. Like, we bring in Christmas in a different country, right? So it's like certain stuff that we'll do. You know what I'm saying? Because like my wife, she ain't like what's the word? Like having. I just said it the other day, but she don't gotta like have a new bag. She don't gotta do it. She like bags. She got a ton of bags, but it ain't like that. She ain't gotta have it. She don't gotta have it. She ain't really tripping. How long y'all been married? Like 11, 12 years at this point. Wow. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. She been dealing with me for a long time. She was shooting when I was shooting in the gym. Like, when I ain't had nothing. She met me when I was up, but I was in the streets. Yeah. But she saw me go through the whole transition of losing it all, her stepping in, paying the bills, all that. So that's why I be telling even a lot of the sisters I work with, because the big thing on the internet is like, hey, you got to find a brother who up already. Yeah. And if he ain't up already, move on. Yeah. I'm like, ladies, y'all. I'm like, y'all, I get it. Yeah. But I think that's flawed advice. Because all the brothers who I know who up and they got their lady with them, they lady was with them when they went up. Facts. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you said, you could be up, but you went down. So what you gonna do now? You feel me? And then when you up, it's easy for you to get a lady. Period. Like, you got your pick of the litter at that point. Right. But then you skeptical because it's like, is she just trying to get at me because who I am? And with the internet, they can run your background real quick. You know what I'm saying? And see what's
run
what.
Your whole facts.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to like adjust the whole thing. So so we don't necessarily got a number of like, okay, once we hit this number.
Okay.
But it's more so like, here's the different things we want to do. Here's the different things we want to accomplish and so forth.
I love it. So before we end the episode, we do this segment called Figure It Out, because as CEOs, we always figuring it the fuck out. We like firefighters.
For sure, 100%.
Okay?
100%.
So let me see what scenario we got, and you just let us know what immediately you would do. So you just ordered $100,000 worth of inventory for a pre-sale of your products. You get an update from your manufacturer that your products are stuck on C with no updates. You have customers waiting. What's next?
So, all right, read it one more time.
Okay. So you just ordered $100,000 of inventory for a pre-sale of your products.
Okay.
You get an update from the manufacturer and your products are stuck on C with no updates. You have people waiting. You got their money. Yeah. So what are you going to do? So
I've bought the product from this company already.
Yes.
They don't know when I'm gonna get my stuff.
No.
But I got this money. So I ordered $100,000 of product. Is that $100,000 of product what I owe to people?
So I guess the $100,000 would be what you paid the manufacturer.
Got it.
Yeah. But you could have charged them 3 times more.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Got it. So it depends. So one thing I'm gonna do is like, okay, what can we offer them? Mm-hmm. So that they'll be happy.
Yeah.
So we figure that out. If that doesn't work and we can't figure out what else can we offer them for now, I'm gonna start looking for some other ways to get them to deliver, even if I got to break even or go in the red a little bit just to keep my face card right.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I mean, we probably had to start giving folks money back, right? Oof. Worst case scenario,
right?
But it's gonna sting.
Yeah, it always
but at the end of the day, the face card is more valuable than anything.
You know, that is good, because I think a lot of people forget that in this internet where you only good as your name,
100%,
and you can only rebrand so many times,
100%,
and your past gonna always
100. Like your face, I tell people all the time, your face card is more valuable than the black card. And again, I bring a lot of, I guess it may be trauma or where I'm from. It's like I be telling folks like sometimes like these internet cats is like be funny. It's like where I'm from, like you got to answer to that.
Yeah,
like you can't be outside. Yeah, it's like I be hearing about folks like. Folks bought their course and they ain't get it, or they bought this coaching program for $60,000 and they couldn't get in touch with nobody. They ain't hurt no, or this happened. I'm like, what? It's like where I'm from, like you could be killed, like but a 97, like it don't even matter. It ain't like because it was 60. It's like it could have been 97. Like you got if you outside, like you got to deal with that. So it's like I'm always thinking like, how do we protect the face card, and take care of our people because we can always get money.
I love it. Well, this was a good conversation. We covered a lot. We went through business, healing, the kids, all the things.
For sure, 100%.
But if you had to say anything to a ghetto CEO that's out there right now, that's like, you know, I am in the space where you were in when you first started. Like I'm still doing some things I don't really want to do, but I want to change. I want to do something different. What would you say to them?
I would say right now, regardless of what the media is saying, regardless of what anybody's saying, we literally live in the best time in the history of the world to be alive, right? Like never in a million years that any of our ancestors have podcasts, Zoom, the internet, Facebook ads. Like it's crazy. Like we had Madam C.J. Walker, the Alonzo Herndons, the A.G. Gassons, built multi-million-dollar platforms with none of what we had. So no matter what, like lean in. What can you create? What can you do? Because whatever you want is literally at your fingertips, but you got to just lean in, get around the right people, and just commit to the process and be willing to go through everything that comes with it, because it's a gift on the other side.
I love it. Well, y'all, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Ghetto CEO Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you enjoy, because this episode was good.
For sure. I appreciate you.
And listen, I will see you guys on the next episode. See you later.
Ooh, the ghetto. Invoice in. That ain't ghetto. Money spin. Oh, that's ghetto. Hold on. It's kind of ghetto being a CEO.